I'm going to come to a very important point. Emotional well-being is very, very important, right? Especially today's day and age. And in emotional, like when it comes to emotional well-being, what part does science or spirituality play in emotional well-being? And the science, I'm really specifically talking about the science, because you have done so much research and delved into the science, and I really want you to share that outcome of that research, please.
Yeah. So I've done only actually not many research, but one of them, which is
in-depth research.
Yeah. So there are scientists who have dedicated their full life into so many things. I'm like not done that much of work, I would say, but yes, I have worked hard in my medical field, whatever I've been doing, and the hard work pays in eventually and helps in many other fields also, and so it also helped me in my spiritual journey. So coming to your question, emotional well-being is something which we first need to understand what is emotional well-being. So I've seen your amazing sessions of previous life that I have seen, and there are beautiful sessions right from physical body to understanding of many other things which people have come up with, and you have also been giving, which is I think the basic foundation of Sukhoon, to have the mind, body, mind, and the soul, to have the unison of all these three and to uplift everything together, right? So when we talk about emotional well-being, so to just very simply tell from scientific perspective, World Health Organization, this was very early, I think in 1988 or something, they redefined what is health, right? So when we say health, generally as a medical doctor, we would just say that one who is physically fit, right? You would do all the blood parameters, and you can do all the echocardiogram and various blood tests, LFT, and see all your kidney, liver, everything is functioning fine. And maybe you can do some psychological tests to know that this person is balanced. You can do the emotional quotient, and there are many things in psychology. But what they also started including, or they included in the definition, is also social and spiritual well-being, which is very amazing, that they realize that that is also a part of a total well-being of a person. And so when we say that I am feeling happy, good and healthy, it implies that I am emotionally balanced, I am spiritually feeling very happy, good, experiencing that love, and at the same time physically good. So if you see in comparing science and spirituality, in spirituality the hierarchy is given from you start from physical, and as you go higher up, that the highest is your source or your soul. When you connect to that soul, when you are in experience of that soul, that when you are able to connect, everything else, it comes down. So for example, if you are in that experience of that love 24/7, it will not matter how your physical body is. And there are many examples of saints and masters who went through such profound and numerous physical ailments, but they were not bothered, right? Because it did not matter to them. They were in that state because it did not matter. They were beyond the body. You experienced beyond the body. But that does not mean that you should not take care of your body. I'm like not correcting myself here, that body is a vehicle to reach to that highest, and we require to respect the body. And therefore this part of taking out so many live about yoga and how to keep yourself fit is also important. But then the entire focus in our life should not be just that. We have to move from physical to mental, emotional, and then spiritual. So when we say emotional well-being, what do we mean? So it's like, am I in the present time happy about myself and the situations, or is every situation bothering me, stressing me out? So a classical example is the current time, and we know that what is going to happen, we don't know. We are kind of so many things, the COVID-19, the economy is down, and many things have happened, and still it is uncertain what things will happen. This is an ideal time to understand yourself. A very beautiful time, which somehow we are in that juncture where we can try and understand whether I am internally happy in spite of these situations. Of course, practically one needs to take steps to take care of family and monetarily, and all those things are important. But what is my internal state, which unfortunately in the present time is not good? And I can give you examples of so many people. I think even you shared. I can give you examples of actual doctors wanting to commit suicide. at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
They have gone through a state where staff nurses, I know people who want to commit suicide because of the level of stress which
Correct.
has currently come in. So this is obviously you're in an emotional imbalance, and somehow
Yeah.
this has been never catered to by all the education that was given. So somewhere I feel that we have become so advanced as human beings. We have reached moon. I think in few years we also reach Mars, right?
Yeah.
The way we are. But then somehow this basic thing of how can I be happy in my life, that we have failed to address, and that part is science is doing. So medically, a lot of things are being done. No doubt that there are many different avenues where one can help, but there is a limitation. Which, as again a medical person, I'm sharing, there are lots of limitations. So eventually, to move beyond the limitation of the science, only thing which will help is spirituality, which is also being scientifically studied. So there are various spiritual practices. Again, we all know the spiritual practices of doing meditation, breath watch. There are various like mantra chanting, doing certain rituals, and also divine energy transfer, which certain masters do. So all these are spiritual practices. They have been studied in depth in science and over many years. And there are enough papers which are like proven evidence of what happens in your brain, what happens in your heart, what happens in your physical body, how your immune system changes, how your cardiovascular system comes to a balance, autonomic nervous system comes to a balance, your immunity improves. And a very profound thing is, our brain has a capability of reorganizing, rewiring itself, which is called as neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So if you are able to, with the spiritual practices, or with anything for that matter, but spiritual practices which have been studied, if you are able to do that, reorganize your brain so that you can face any challenge, you are done then. So you are like really, that practice proves the point that it is helping one, and this is what has been found. So we in Maitribodh Parivar, there is a process called as Shakti Prava, which is a divine energy transfer, which has been one of the unique offering which Maitribodh Parivar offers with Dada Shri Ji. It happens just through his grace, and it's like a big blessing, which is like an intervention, divine intervention. And this brings about a spiritual transformation. So all of us who went in the early days, we experienced this, and I think that is what gave that 360-degree turn to me when I received that first time. So Maitri Dada Shri Ji was also a doctor. Of course, now he's in a different state, and his purpose of life is to bring that transformation to the entire humanity. So he's not practicing as a doctor, but he knew how science works in details. So some of us were selected to study this in as a research. So we did a research, and we found, as I explained to you about neuroplasticity, we found something that's an area in the brain which is called as a precuneus that showed an increased connectivity. Okay, now this area...
Precuneus, sorry, I missed you. The area of the brain which is called the...
Precuneus.
Precuneus. Okay.
Yeah, Precuneus. So this precuneus is an area which is in the occipital, behind in the occipital area, in this area. That area shows increased connection after participants who reach Shakti Prava. They receive Shakti Prava over 3 months, and that should increase connection. And we had no idea what this thing is about, because, as I said, in science you experiment. So we just went with an experiment and see what happens in the brain. So when we researched that this area is actually an emotional integrator. It actually integrates it's a hub where it integrates many other areas in the brain. And recently we found another friend of mine who is in US, who is also part of the same mission, and she's also helping in the research. She got a reference that this is an area which is called as an area of meta-awareness. So it is an area which helps in uplifting our awareness, and it helps in making one emotionally stable so that one can really live a very joyful state of being. So that is what the changes that happens, and we are consistently doing this almost every 15 days in all parts of the world. So, and it is free online, where one can now receive it online. At the COVID time, we decided to, Dada Shri Ji was really gracious enough to allow it to happen online, because it was to be done physically before. So one can receive and experience that transformation, and truly live a happy life then.